Hey everybody, it's time. Go get your snack, get your hydration, and get ready for Phenomenal Woman Rise Up with Terrikay Brown.
Hey everybody, good evening. Welcome to Phenomenal Woman Rise Up inaugural show. I hope everyone had a wonderful day today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me this evening. I am so excited that you decided to watch my show. Be sure to subscribe. You know, that big red thing that says subscribe. Make sure that you like it and hit the subscribe button. You might as well just do it now because once we get started with the show, you might forget. But I will remind you at the end of the show to hit the subscribe button. It's real important that you hit that button because the more subscriptions I get, the more tools I'll have to get a better show to you. That's how it works. So let me introduce myself to those who don't know me and reintroduce myself to those who remember me from Tara's Table Talk. I was on a previous show of mine, and like I said, it was called Tara's Table Talk, and it was on KAZ Radio. Shout out to Larry James. He gave me an opportunity to do my heart's passion, and that's bring information and knowledge to anyone who wants to hear it. I love talking and I love giving information because, you know, knowledge is power. Anytime you can get information, you can live a better life, you can do things better, and you can make connections. And that's what it's all about. Now, if you guys are wondering, well, if she had a talk show named Tara's Table Talk, why doesn't she have the talk show anymore? Well, the pandemic came and, you know, everybody had to regroup. We couldn't go to the studio anymore. And I'm a nurse by trade. So I was working 16 hours a day, pooped out from that, trying to come home and take all the infection off of me that I brought home, eat, go back to work, take care of my family. And so the talk show kind of went to the wayside just a little bit, but it's back. And I am so grateful that I've been given a chance to do this show revamped. There's nothing wrong with starting over something that you truly have a passion for. And I love this. You know, if I tell you, let me tell you about some of the previous topics and the guests that I had on Tara's Table Talk. And then that way you will get an idea of what type of guests and what type of topics you'll see on this show, Phenomenal Woman Rise Up. One of my really great guests was Leah Mcguntry. Leah is the owner of Our Favorite Things Boutique, and it's in the Larchmere Business District. Now, Leah is an African-American woman, and she's not new to this boutique stuff. She's been doing it for a long time. But she was on the show, and she was telling me about the uprising of the Larchmere Business District. And she's on the board, and she is just doing all kinds of things for new entrepreneurs, especially small business entrepreneurs. There's all kinds of products in her shops. So you should stop by there. It's right on Larchmere Boulevard, you know, off of Shaker Square. She was a great guest on our show. And I also had the pleasure of interviewing Reverend Dr. Leah Lewis. And she's an author. She wrote Little Lumpy's Book of Blessings. And she's also the creator of the Great Lakes African American Writers Conference. Now, I went to this a few years ago, and it was just spectacular. This woman put together a conference where the youth performed. They performed their own poetry that they wrote. They were literary agents. They were writing plays, and these young people were off the chain. You know what? All you hear sometimes is about young people doing this, shaking their booties, or on TikTok or this or that. These young people were so creative and they were so respectful of the art. And I had a young lady on that wrote her own rap poetry. It was just fabulous. I'll give you the link at the end so you can see some of my old shows. But I also had a fabulous guest, Goodron. She works for Howard Hanna. She's a real estate agent. And her buddy and partner in crime, Bobby Meredith, who handles the money side, ended up getting my husband and I this beautiful house that we live in. I had JJ on the show, and she has such an enthusiasm for real estate and making sure everybody owns a property. I was listening to some of the stuff, and then I started doing what she suggested to do. And the next thing I knew, my husband and I were in this beautiful house. So we've been in here for like a year, and I love it. We'd always talk about buying a big house, but we finally got it. Thanks, JJ. But on the serious note, we talked about topics like food insecurity, the power of prayer and faith when you are faced with a medical diagnosis that's overwhelming, like cancer, or the person that I had on was Annette Warwell, and her son had a heart transplant. I mean, he went into the doctor and they were like, okay, you need a heart transplant. They never expected to hear that, but literally got the heart transplant in 24 hours. When does that happen? But she's a prayer warrior. And so they talked about the power of prayer and the power of having strong faith. And that doesn't mean that everybody's prayer gets answered the way they want it, because God has a yes and God has a no, but he also has a purpose. So we learned that on that show. And then one of the greatest shows that I had was Pastors Clarence and Lakita Carter, and they came on to talk about marriage, sex, and the church. Now, you know that was a serious show, but it was fabulous. They gave a lot of insight on marriage and how marriage is a work in progress, and sex in the marriage, and how your faith is involved in all that. It's always God first. Anybody that knows God knows that, but that was one of my best shows. And then for people like me over 60 to find out that I can go to college for free, okay, Cleveland State and Tri-C both offer classes for people my age and older for free. I mean, you can't get a college degree, but you can take the class and you can learn things. And we also found out that if you have a special skill, like if you can crochet, you can teach a crochet class. So, you know, us elderly people, as they call us, the young people call us over 60 people elderly, we have developed some lifelong skills, and those skills are appreciated at the colleges. So those are a couple things. I just wanted to start this timer so I don't go over. Those are a couple of things that I talked about in Tara's Table Talk. But now I am Phenomenal Woman Rise Up, and I have a lot more interesting things that I'm going to be talking about in the future. But tonight, I want to talk to you guys about voter literacy. Let me say that again, voter literacy, and why you should vote. Now, I know some people might be shaking their heads saying, girl, please, that's an old topic. Why are you talking about it? And I'm saying, girl, please, I need to talk about it, because there are some people that just don't vote. This is 2022, and there are some people, let me say it again, that just don't vote. And at this point in the game, you should be voting. I shouldn't have to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to give you a little bit of education on why you should vote, because the importance of voting is going to affect you personally. Plus, our ancestors worked their butts off and died so that we could vote. I know everybody knows about what happened in Selma. Come on. People died. They tried to stop Black folks and women from voting on high levels. They went through all kinds of changes to keep us from voting, put it in literacy tests, putting in all kinds of parameters to keep you from being able to vote. So if that is the main reason why you should go out and vote, but voting impacts your tax dollars, and I don't know anybody that don't pay taxes, except maybe, the dope man, and, you ain't the dope man. And it impacts your personal rights, because if you don't vote, certain people can get in office and change things that limit you or prohibit you from doing what you like to do. And it also impacts your children and their education, because a law can go into place in 2022 and then you're thinking you're protected, and then in 2042 that law is gone and you don't even know it because you're not keeping up with voting. They have put a law in place that eliminates the law that you think you have voted for. So you have to keep voting. So I hope you listen to the voiceover man and got you a snack and got you hydration. I have mine with my lemon and my strawberry. Thank you. Water, by the way, which is very, very good for you. So get your snack and get your hydration, get your pen and get your pencil, because we're going to talk about the basics. I'm going to give you a mini education on what goes on when you vote. And then I'm going to talk about the people that I think deserve to get a nod in the voting booth on Tuesday. Now, I'm sure everybody knows today is Sunday. I was going to say Monday. Lord have mercy. Today is Sunday, May 1st. So the next day of the week is Monday. That is May the 2nd. And after Monday comes Tuesday, May the 3rd. That's the day that you get to go vote. Don't forget, Tuesday, May the 3rd is voting day for this election that's up for election right now. Now, the first thing to understand that there's more than one election to vote in. I'm just saying, there are some people who vote for the president and get in a conversation and say, well, now I voted for that president up there. I vote all the time. Every 4 years I vote. There is more to vote for than just the president of the United States of America. I'm here to inform you. There are more elections than just the election for the president. Okay, you have local elections. You have state elections. You have congressional elections. You have midterm elections. And then you also can vote for the president of the United States. So you need to understand that you have this right to vote, and you have to vote for multiple elections to be effective in the community that you live in. Now, mind you, that if you're not voting for the people at your local level and you're only voting for the president, I just want you to know that the president can't get anything done unless it goes through Congress. Most of the people who are in Congress are coming from the midterm elections. Most of the people that are in the congressional districts are coming from the local and state levels. So it's very important for you to vote not only for your mayor and your council person, that you keep voting through the congressional districts. And then, of course, it is important to vote for the president. But basically, if you studied your American voting history, the president really can't do anything by him or herself. Getting ready to be a her. I'm claiming it. Can't do anything without everybody else that's under him or her. So first thing it is that you need to know is, do you know what congressional district you live in? Now, I live in the 11th congressional district. But if you don't know, I can tell you how to find out. And then you need to know who's running for these offices. So when you go to vote, sometimes it's hard to remember a lot of names, But, you figure if the president, there's only two people. There's a Republican and there's a Democrat. Sometimes there's an independent running. And then, of course, sometimes there's somebody who's just running because they got the money and they want to run for president. We all know there's been a few of those. So there's not that many names to remember if you're voting for president, but get a little educated and realize that at the midterm elections or the congressional level, or even the state or local level, you might have a few names that you need to research, because you might get to the poll and say, I don't know who that person is. And you just go like this, boom, and vote for that person. And you could be voting for an axe murderer that looks clean on paper, okay? So then you also want to check out how that person voted in the past, okay? Because their record is available for you to look at. Now, let me break it down to you what city government elections consist of. They consist of city council, they consist of mayor, they consist of your commissioner, and they also consist of school board members. Now, your local governments create and enforce the laws that are in your local government. Like if you live in Shaker Heights, you need to know who is on city council. You need to know who is running for mayor. And you definitely need to know who's running for school board if you have children. And even if you don't have children and you're paying taxes, you need to know these things. So your city government elections, like I said, consist of city council, the mayor race, the county commissioner, and the school board. So they create and they enforce the laws, and they manage the services in your city and the activities for your community, like the parks, the police, the fire, housing, municipal courts, the schools, the planning for the city, whether you're going to have this building or that building, and the development properties. So if you are a business owner and you would like to develop some property, build you an apartment building and have a coffee shop on the first floor, you have to know who's in office, because some people are not your friend and do not want you to develop, and they put their friends in the development pool. And they also develop where there's recreation. So these are things that these people control. So you need to make sure that you know who you're voting for and putting in office. Now, if you move up to the congressional elections, hold on, I got to get some hydration. Just hold on just a minute. I got to let you see my lemon and my strawberry. Thank you. Now, if you move up to the congressional elections, they decide, and I'm going to read this because I don't want to get it wrong, they decide who represents your state in Congress. They also decide who will hold a majority in each chamber of Congress. You have the United States Representatives and you have the United States Senate in Congress. And I'm pretty sure you guys have seen all of this on TV, but this is how things get mixed up. When people don't understand how important it is to vote in these congressional elections, because these people in Congress have a lot of power. Like I said, the president can't even do anything without the congressional vote that consists of the House of Representatives and the Senate. So the chambers that are in the Congress, these two chambers, like I said, the U.S. House of Representatives, they get elected every midterm and every presidential election year. So they serve a 2-year term, and there are 435 House of Representatives in Congress. That is a lot of votes, okay? The amount of the population in each state determines how many representatives you get in the House of Representatives. So that's why it's important to fill out the census. I have heard people talk about, I'm not filling out that census because it's a conspiracy The government is conspiring to do something to me. I'm not filling out that paper. Well, you're not getting represented in the House of Representatives if you aren't present. And so if you're not filling out the census and you're not voting, you are unaccountable. You're unaccounted for. And that's just not good. That is not good at all. So the other half of Congress is the U.S. Senate. Now, the U.S. senators serve a 6-year term, and 1/3 of these senators get elected every midterm and presidential election year. So there are 100 senators. And you know why? Because you get 2 for each state. So that's a little bit of information. If you've been writing it down, you got to be voting for your city government, city council, your mayor, your commissioner, your school board, because they create and enforce the laws where you live, and they have control over whether you're going to have planning, development, whether your school's going to expand, how the courts are, and how many police and firemen are going to be in the budget. That's important. And the congressional elections are the United States Senate and the United States House of Representatives. The House of Representatives are determined by the population in your district, in your state, and the senators, you get 2 for each state. There are 100 senators. So that's a little bit of information, you guys. That is some important information. So when you hear all that, I think that it really should impress on you the importance of your vote. You matter. If you turned 18 years old, you should be voting. There's no reason why you shouldn't be voting. Now, there are some people who are legally not able to vote. Maybe they won't be voting. But if you're legally able to vote, you should vote. They have absentee ballots. They have ballots for people in the military. They have, and down south, they're trying to change all kinds of voting laws. So you really should vote if you're down south. Don't let anybody stop you from voting. Follow the rules, but you have the ability to change those rules by voting. Now, I'm going to give you some information on the people that I think I'm going to be voting for. In Ohio, we have a governor's race. Now, we have Republican candidates for governor, and we also have Democratic candidates for governor. Our Republican candidates are the incumbent, Governor Mike DeWine, and his running mate is Lieutenant Governor John Husted. And there's Joe Blystone, whose running mate is former U.S. Marine Staff Sergeant Jeremiah Workman. We have former State Representative Ron Hood, whose running mate is former State Representative Candace Keller. And the other Republican running for governor is former U.S. Representative Jim Renacci, whose running mate is Joe Knott. Now, I'm not voting for any of those. I'm voting for a Democratic candidate for governor. The Democratic candidates are former Cincinnati Mayor John Cranley, and his running mate is State Senator Teresa Federer. Now, I'm voting for former Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley, whose running mate is Cuyahoga County Council Vice President Cheryl Stevens. That's who I'm voting for. Now, former Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley, I'm going to give you the spiel about her. I'm going to read this, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. Under former Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley's leadership, Dayton has turned a corner. She brought folks together to take on the community's toughest challenges, including tackling the opioid crisis, cutting overdose deaths by half, and saving hundreds of lives. She led the fight to take on a broken education system and provide quality pre-K to every 3- and 4-year-old in the city. Dayton has become vibrant again under her leadership, and new people and businesses are moving into the city. Now, Cuyahoga County Council Vice President Cheryl Stevens, she's got it going on too, okay? Over the span of Cuyahoga County Vice President Cheryl Stevens' leadership, she has 8 years of service in the Cuyahoga County Land Bank. Her department helped create, acquisition, demolition, and environmental cleanup projects valued at over $50 million. Ms. Stevens has been a key player in ushering more than $100 million of investment to growing businesses and real estate developments in Ohio. So that's why I'm voting for Jan Whaley, and her running mate is Cuyahoga County Council Vice President Cheryl Stevens. They are Democrats running in the governor's race for Ohio. Now, in the senator's race for Ohio, it was vacated by Rob Portman. And one of the key races that voters are going to be focusing on is this battle for the U.S. Senate seat. Okay, so this is a key race right here. Like I said, Rob Portman is vacating it. And right now, the U.S. Senate is at an even between the Republicans and the Democrats, which is very, 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 very important for you to vote, because Vice President Kamala Harris is the one who breaks the ties. But I'm a Democrat, so if we vote Democrat, then she won't have to always be the person to break the tie. Us Democrats can go in and be in the senator part of Congress, and we can have a strong showing, because you know the U.S. House of Representatives vote too. So the Democratic candidates for the senator race in Ohio are Morgan Harper, Tracy T.J. Johnson, and Representative Tim Ryan. Now, I'm voting for Representative Tim Ryan. Now, Tim Ryan supports expanding Medicare by lowering the eligibility age to 60 and allowing people to buy into the program at age 50, along with creating a public option that will increase the competition and bring down costs. That's how it always happens. You know, if you have a McDonald's next to a Burger King, they're fighting for the price of those French fries, if that makes sense. Now, Representative Tim Ryan also supports allowing Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices, which would help keep more money in Ohio's pockets while also saving hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars and helping sustain Medicare for generations to come. So that's why I'm voting for him. But I wouldn't be fair if I didn't tell you the Republican candidates also. Now, the Republican candidates for the senator's race are State Representative Matt Dolan, Mike Gibbons, Josh Mandel, Neil Patel, Mark Pukita, Jane Timken, and J.D. Vance. Now, I know you guys have seen these commercials on TV. I mean, to me, I don't know. I'm not running for Senate, but I feel like if you're going to spend valuable money that's been donated to your campaign to put a commercial on TV, you should spend that money talking about all the good things that you have done and all the good things that you want to do with everybody's support. I would not waste my time or waste my money talking about anybody else's problems. And that's what I seem to see. And then, of course, all these people are talking Donald Trump. And if that's your guy, that's your guy. Okay. Now, I can give you some highlights from the March debate that they had at Central State University for the open U.S. Senate seat in Ohio. All of the Republicans, except for Matt Dolan, he was the only one that held fast to the disproven narrative that the 2020 presidential election was stolen from Donald Trump. They still talking about that. Those are the Republican candidates, except for Matt Dolan. I will say that. So that's an informed decision you can make if you want to about the Republican senatorial candidates. But like I said, I'm voting Democratic. And I'm voting for Representative Tim Ryan. Now, the congressional race for the seat in the 11th Congressional District is a really big race. Now, these two women have been in this race before. When Marcia Fudge left her seat to become the U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, this seat went up for election. And Chantelle Brown and Nina Turner were running for the seat. Chantelle Brown won that election, and both of them are running again for the permanent seat. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what Chantelle Brown is about. Chantelle Brown assumed this office, like I said, in November of 2021. She succeeded Representative Marcia Fudge, who was a Democrat, who resigned that year to become U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Brown says she's committed to bipartisanship. She kept her promise to voters to work with President Biden and voted for the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021. And she said this act would repair the bridge on Martin Luther King and replace every lead pipe and create thousands of jobs. And then the most important thing is to get access to high-speed internet in the city of Cleveland. I know I have had this experience, and I wonder if anyone else has. I was driving from my house down through the city of Cleveland, well, basically East Cleveland, going to Cleveland, and I would be on my phone and the internet is like, psh. I'm serious, or it's thinking, or it's spinning. And I'm wondering what in the world has happened. Well, they don't have the internet access that most people do. And this is not good, especially since school is on the internet a lot now. And you have to have access to the internet to be informed and to go to college for some people and to do their job at home for some people. So that is very, very important. So I really like the fact that Chantelle Brown is doing that. Now, Brown also campaigned on legislation she introduced to reduce class sizes, which Lord knows that needs to be done. And she co-sponsored a bill to raise the minimum wage. So before joining the House, Representative Chantelle Brown was on the Cuyahoga County Council, and as of April 2022, she was the chair of the County Democratic Party. So people who have endorsed Chantelle Brown are President Joe Biden, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb. So that's really good. That's some good info. Now, Representative Nina Turner, she's been around for a long time. She has a record, and she says that Chantelle Brown is not doing enough to change the material conditions for the poor and the low-income residents. Now, going back to what I said before about when you have time to talk about something about you, when you're running for office, you should be talking about you. That's just my opinion, because if you got it going on and you have a history, you should be able to talk about your history and the things you've done. And if you have ideas for the future, because you've been in this for a while, you should be able to talk about your ideas for the future. So Nina Turner says that when announcing her second bid for the district, voting the right way is one thing, but using the full force and weight of the office to fight for things is another. And that is the primary difference between Nina Turner and the person that's holding the office. So everybody can fill in the blanks and read between the lines. Nina Turner has referred to her work on Senator Bernie Sanders' Democratic presidential campaigns, and she says she would fight for Medicare for all, a living wage, and good union jobs. So Turner served in the state Senate from 2008 to 2015 and is a former chair of the party engagement for the Ohio Democratic Party. People who are endorsing Nina Turner include Bernie Sanders and former Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson, who is a Democrat. Now, I think I've given you guys some education tonight. Do you agree? Do you agree with me? I surely hope that everyone took notes, because if you are an informed voter, that makes you a great voter. The fact that you go vote is very, very important, but being an informed voter is just excellence. It's excellence. And as a people, we have to have information. We have to have knowledge. We might not know everything about a candidate, but we can look and see what that candidate is doing and is saying they want to do. And it's up to them to come through. We all know that. I just encourage everybody to make sure that they vote on Tuesday. I'm going to have information after this video to tell you how to get to the voting, on the date, the times, the email. If you need to find out how to email, you can call and get information. And then there's also a URL to get a sample Democratic ballot for Cuyahoga County so that you can kind of see what it looks like before you get there. So that's going to be my show for today. I'm the only guest for today. I have guests lined up for future shows, and I am so excited. We're going to be talking about financial literacy. We're going to be talking about thrifting, thrift shopping. A lot of people say, oh, that's woman talk. No, thrifting is a lucrative business for one thing, and it's also smart. Because you don't have to always spend $1,000 on something to get something valuable. We're also going to be talking about journaling and how it helps your mindset and how, I used to think journaling was kind of stupid. You're writing down everything, but we're going to have a guest on the show that's going to explain how journaling puts you in a mindset of health, a healthy mindset. So those are just some of the few shows. There's going to be a lot more interesting things going on with Phenomenal Woman Rise Up. I want to thank everybody for watching this inaugural show. And I hope that I've given you some information about the importance of voting. If you know someone who just refuses to vote in anything but the presidential election, take your notes to them and inform them about the importance of voting in every single election. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you come back next Sunday. I care about you. I care about your information. And we are also going to have conversations that matter all the time. So take care and have a great evening. And we'll see you next Sunday at 8:00 p.m. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye.